Last year, a speed camera like this one caught a driver going 198 kilometers per hour, and in 2022, nearly 120,000 speeding and red light tickets were issued, with over $7 million in revenue collected by the province of British Columbia. That's a lot of cheddar, but do they work? I mean, yes, they work. They take the picture, the registered owner gets a ticket, but do they work? Do they actually make our traffic-plagued streets safer? Well, Vancouver City Councillor Christine Boyle believes they are part of the solution, and on November 1st, 2023, she tabled a motion calling for additional speed and red light cameras at Vancouver's most dangerous intersections. But in the end, Council amended the motion to further study the safety cameras' feasibility. But even if they work, and even if more cameras were to be installed, it begs the question, are they ethical? My name is Nick, and I like saving money by biking. Subscribe for regular content. So 3 questions. Do safety cameras make our streets safer? Did Vancouver City Council make the right decision? And are they even ethical? Now, my opinions are going to be baked in, so please at some point let me know what you think. I'm genuinely curious. But right off the bat, yes, generally speaking, intersection safety cameras do reduce collisions and make our streets safer. Though there have been varying accounts over time, it's now definitively established that these cameras not only save lives, but also generate revenue for the cities implementing them. In the municipality of York, north of Toronto, there has been a reduction in right angle and turning movement collisions by 50% since the implementation of red light cameras. And New York City showed speeding in school zones reduced by 63% and have since implemented 2,000 cameras citywide running 24/7, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in net revenue. And even if they weren't collecting fines, they would still pay for themselves through the savings in healthcare costs due to the reduction in injuries and ER visits. I could go on, but this review compiles 51 studies and concludes that the implementation of speed cameras was associated with a reduction in average speeds of 7%, reduction in speeding vehicles by 57%, reduction in crashes by 90%, reduction in injury crashes by 18%, and a reduction in severe or fatal crashes by 21%. So yes, they kind of work. They are not the solution, but it seems pretty clear that they can be part of the solution. As for City Council, was their decision to further study the right call? In a word, no, and to reach that conclusion, I watched the entire council meeting, which is available, but to save you the trouble, I'll give you the notes. The motion tabled by Councillor Boyle highlights the negative effects of traffic collisions, their dollar and social cost, and many benefits cameras can bring. In the resolution, it implores the mayor to write a letter to the provincial government to request the installation of additional red light and speed cameras at intersections with more than 100 crashes from 2018 to 2022, intersections near schools with 50 or more crashes during the same period, and provide all revenue from additional cameras to municipalities as grants to be invested in implementing road safety improvements. During comments, Councillor Zhou brings up valid concerns of red light cameras and increased rear ending, citing a study from Chicago which saw a 14% increase in rear end crashes. Though the increase in rear end crashes is outweighed by the reduction in angle crashes, severity of crashes, and risks to vulnerable road users, resulting in a net positive. That being said, the most recent study shows reductions in both right angle and rear end crashes by about 30%. Councillor Montague said the motion doesn't hit the right path and doesn't go far enough, stating the cameras aren't a one-size-fits-all solution, with drawbacks such as delayed punishment, not effective on wealthy drivers, and simply deterrence, not preventative. And even though there is something to be said about his anecdotal evidence against their effectiveness, including the mention of suicide, he makes the point that our streets are complex and require tailored solutions to get the best outcomes. And in my opinion, he made many good points, but more on that in a bit. The amendment he submitted added a new section to conduct further research to identify high-risk intersections in the city where cameras might be effective tools, recommendations on alternative site-specific safety measures, and for staff to report back by Q3 of 2024. Lastly, striking the section on collecting revenue to be invested in road safety over concerns of corruption, though this amendment was amended to include that section. All of which not without objections from Councillor Boyle, stating the amendment waters down the language and simply kicks the can down the road. And back to Montague's points, while mostly good, I think he missed the forest from the trees, which becomes especially clear when Councillor Boyle not only brings up possible solutions to the problems he mentioned, but remarks on the purpose of the lights to begin with. Put simply, they aren't meant to be a one-size-fits-all solution. They are a tool that can be implemented quickly that have at the very least been proven to reduce severity of crashes and generate dollars, effectively giving a green light to all the tailored solutions brought up by Montague. Putting the funds into solutions that address the problem at the root not only make our streets safer, but also help reduce the number of tickets by design, eventually rendering the cameras unnecessary, which sends a clear message to the public. This is an action towards a safer city, not a cash grab or a source to be relied on in the city's operational budget. But even so, the decision was made. What worries me about the current study further approach is that when next summer comes, we may have recommendations for the best solutions, but the lack of funds to implement them, destined to be added to the already backlogged queue. So no, I don't believe they made the right call. And the last question, are these cameras ethical, specifically the speed cameras? And no, this isn't about privacy. And to answer that question, I looked to Chuck Marohn of Strong Towns, who has recently written and spoke about speed cameras. And while I disagree with his take that cameras are an evolutionary dead end, there is a lot to glean from his wisdom. In a perfect world, drivers would follow the rules, and some suggest, like Councillor Dominato did, that driver education and raising awareness is important, but that can only get you so far. Driving is a System 1 mental activity, which is one that you do without even thinking about. The vast majority of people, myself included, have been driving while having a conversation, singing along to a song, or simply having their mind wander. It doesn't require the effortful, logical level 2 thinking. What this means is that people typically drive the speed that they feel comfortable driving without even thinking about it. If a street in a city feels like a highway, we will drive like it is. There's something in traffic engineering called the 85th percentile speed, which is the speed at or below which 80% of drivers will operate with open roads and favorable conditions. What it tells us is the speed that drivers perceive to be safe, which is to say, if you have excessive speeding on your roads, it might not be the drivers that are the problem. It's a mismatch between the desired speed and the design of the street. Wide lanes, long straight stretches, and gentle curves give drivers the incorrect signal that the environment is simple and speeds go up. And yes, when someone gets behind the wheel of the car, they should be responsible, but that's just not how we operate. We have to design the streets for the humans we have, and not for the humans we wish we had. So with that in mind, is it ethical to use speed cameras when our speed is largely decided by the street design? I would love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Now, the speed cameras in BC, from what I understand, have a lot of leeway. The threshold is somewhere near 20 to 30 kilometers per hour over the limit. But what if it were only 10 or 5? Would that be fair? And should they cover every stretch of road in a city? Again, let me know. Personally, I don't think they're ethical if the design speed is higher than the speed limit. That's also dangerous. But that notwithstanding, and this may be a hot take, I see it as a tax. We know that people who drive have been subsidized for quite a long time to the tune of billions of dollars. So I look at these cameras as a tax, one that doesn't just tax people driving, it taxes the most careless and reckless. In the end, while the ethical nature of intersection safety cameras might be up for debate, it's clear to me that they help reduce frequency and severity of traffic collisions, and the ability to generate revenue can be invested into the right solutions at every corner in our city. Anyway, my name is Nick. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to Vision Zero Vancouver, Ian for sending me a pile of useful studies, Chuck Marohn at Strong Towns, and Jeff Speck with his book, Walkable City.